Hi parents, my name is Carl Bierly. I'm a high school tech ed teacher here at Cocalico. This is currently my 14th year teaching tech ed and my 5th year here at Cocalico. I spent 2 at the middle school and now 3 here at the high school. A couple of things about me: I love to go camping, love to hunt, and my passion is definitely some home renovation. I really enjoy doing drywall work, which I know sounds strange to most people, but it's definitely my cup of tea. So on to some classes here for the current semester, and I'll also glance into the future here in tech ed. Currently the classes I'm teaching are 2 sections of material technology and 1 of construction technology. So materials tech is a first level in woodworking. We do a little bit of some other materials after their first project is done. I allow them to touch into some plastics as well as some metal work. So we kind of get started through the semester with machine safety right off the bat. We go and work through every single machine in the shop, whether it's the planer, the joiner, the table saw, a miter saw, sanders, hand tools, assembly jigs and fixtures. So they learn a little bit of every machine. They also have a small intro project that they work on, which walks them through each machine, allows them to use each machine, prove to me that they are capable of using it safely. Once that little intro project's done, they work into their first major project, which they have essentially worked on for most of the first quarter here. It's called a mirrored coat rack. It works through, again, almost every machine. We talk about joinery. We have a Craig system that we use for joinery. They walk through each piece, make sure everything's square, do an assembly on it, and get to take it home. So I know most of you at this point have gone out with your child, purchased a piece of mirror or some hooks for the project, which I greatly appreciate. It's kind of hard to keep all the glass in stock and be able to cut it properly. So like last night I went to Paul B and picked up some mirrors for some students as well. So once their mirrored coat rack is done, they walk on to a second project, which is also a second, a third, sometimes a fourth and a fifth, depending on what they choose. I ask them to challenge themselves in the shop. They find a project that they like, that they want to build upon. I challenge them with using different materials, different ways of joining things together, using some different stains, not just a clear coat like they've done. I've had students who do some paint projects with their wood project, painting things different colors, and kind of challenging themselves in the finish room as well. So materials, we have all different types of lumber. I ask them to try something different than they've done for their mirrored coat rack. We talk about different types of glue. I have some students doing exterior projects, so we talk about what the difference is between an interior and exterior glue. If you use an interior glue outside, the rain will do its wonderful thing and kind of dissolve the glue over a period of time. We talk about different ways of fastening projects together, whether it's nails or screws or glue. We have all sorts of different fasteners as well. The last piece of that is, excuse me, is we also have some Metalwork Machines. It's a CNC plasma cutter. I have every one of the students who is going to be working through a sign project. They're going to design a sign for themselves on the computer, design it, send it over to the plasma cutter, and they will all have a chance to cut out a flat plate steel sign, something that you would see on somebody's wall. I think a good stereotypical one is like a monogram with your last name, initial, and a family name underneath of it. So, but they get to choose whatever they like. I've already had a couple Penn State logos cut out. They're going to then take those. We have it's a media blaster with glass beads in it. They're going to clean up the metal, and they have a choice this year, which is kind of nice. I've partnered with Ingram's powder coat on 272, and they will powder coat them for the students. So I'm going to have the student go either take it over, or if they're not able, I will take it over to get it powder coated. It'll probably be either white or black. If they want a specialty color, they may have to wait a few weeks for it. But they also have an option to paint it here at school, different colors. So Ingram's has been wonderful. They want to have students come over, bring their projects, take a tour of the facility, see what they do, see what they create. It's, for those of you who don't know what powder coating is, it is an electrolysis process where it's a dry powder sprayed onto the metal, and the metal is a positive charge and the powder is a negative charge, and electrostatically sticks, and then they put it in an oven for 350 degrees for a few hours, and essentially it bakes on. It's a lot stronger of a paint job than just a rattle can, something we could do here at school. So they've been wonderful with us so far. There's actually a sign back here. It's kind of the original off the machine that was powder coated the other week from them, and it looks really good. So I'm excited to be able to send something home with them here shortly throughout the next quarter that they get to make and hopefully go get powder coated as well. So we have lots of cool machines in the shop now. We definitely are very blessed here at Cocalico with CNC router for the woodworking, as well as a CNC plasma cutter. And some of the students are also getting into a little bit of some welding based on whatever projects they would like. So we have nice new welders. It's a little nice step up compared to the old 1990 stick welder when I walked in. So definitely working on some improvements and really trying to push that technology piece in the materials class, not just a typical woodworking like you would think of as a wood 1, wood 2 kind of class. So the next section is a construction technology class that I'm teaching. It is essentially an introduction to typical construction. We work through old school technology versus some neat new tools. I worked with a couple local builders that I know and talked about what they've been using for tools, what has been helpful, what's not been helpful. So I was able to purchase a few new tools this year based on discussing with them. We have some new cat fasteners, some materials for roofing, and we're going to get into here in the next month or two. So the first project essentially is just a blueprint reading. We have to start from basics. What is a blueprint? How do we read it? They did a model deck construction project, so they based on the blueprint, they built a small scale deck that is precise based on the blueprints I provided. So that's kind of step one in a construction project. The second project that they're going to do is a home electrical unit. We're going to go into what is a 2-way and a 3-way switching, the different types of wires, sizing of wires for a house, outlets, combinations thereof with outlets and switches. So they're going to work through how to properly either not just install but replace outlets and switches. We'll talk about turning off breakers, turn off power to the house before you do things. I have some nice little tools that are a little more modern of, hey, how do we check that power's off, lockout, tag out procedures, even in a house, how do we do it safely so that somebody doesn't walk downstairs, flip a breaker, and all of a sudden you're up in the attic and you get electrocuted. So we talk about preventative measures, how to do things properly. So I figure they're all going to want to buy a house one day. How do you do it and not pay an electrician to come in to spend $100 to change a $2 outlet in your house? So we'll talk about how to do things safely. The next unit is a small construction project which they're currently working on. It's for staff and some community members. We took some polls and looked for some small projects for them to get some introductory work into. Everything, we have some window boxes that are being made. We have a whelping box. We have a very large birdhouse that came to us in pieces, and the kids were able to actually re-engineer the birdhouse, start from scratch, rebuild it based on what they thought that the parts were that came in a pile. We also have a cupola that's going to get restored. So they're a little off of the typical construction projects, but the kids are learning how to use all the machines, how to use the tools. So it's been a nice kind of middle project before we get into the larger things. The art class is also asking for easel hangers, so kids are engineering some of those to be built. It's turned out really well. I think the kids have really enjoyed their time in this unit. So the next big unit after all these projects are done, hopefully by the end of this week, I think we'll be pretty close, is our large construction project. We have 2 major projects going to happen. We have a decent sized shed that's going to be built. We're going to work on it outside. So they're going to need to bundle up a little bit because it's a little chilly. But we're going to have a shed that somebody is purchasing in our community. They've asked us to build a shed. They're going to do delivery, but we're going to build it outside for them, as well as another large structure, but it's actually a wood shed. So we're going to essentially be building a shed minus a wall. And we're going to do a little more bit of pressure treating because it's going to be open to the elements. So we'll talk about pressure treating and roof and waterproofing and all that with the large construction. So I have, like I said earlier, I have a ton of new fun tools and technology pieces that we're going to go into with how to frame and how to build those. So it looks like a fun project, but coming back to it, we're going to have a set of blueprints kids are going to read, which is why that first project was so important. I think a lot of them looked at me and was like, well, why are we doing this? Well, I can't build a shed if you don't know how to read the blueprints based on the shed. So they'll be split into groups. They'll be doing different wall sections, different framing sections, and kind of build it up as we go. So by the end of December, I hope we have 2 beautiful buildings outside for everyone to kind of do a drive-by and look at. So if you're interested, in about a month and a half from now, start doing a drive in the back parking lot, and you'll see some larger structures sitting out back. And the last unit, if we get some time, which I hope to, either at the end of December, maybe even a little into January before the semester ends, is I would really like to get them into a drywall unit, be able to patch drywall, do a quick drywall install, how to tape, how to do joint compounds, proper countersinking of screws, how to fix a hole in the wall. So I walk around and kids have a beautiful wall and I kick a hole in it and say, all right, let's patch it up. So things that they're going to have experience in at some point in their lives if they own a house. So that's kind of my goal with that. Construction tech class is life skills, owning a house. You're going to want to do these things on your own, and not that it's a bad thing, but if you have the skills, don't pay somebody else to do it for you. So all right, and lastly, I want to go through just a couple of I want to put some plugs out there. We are going into renovation in the tech ed department here. We have a new metals program coming in. The classroom's going to be converted over to what I think everyone would call a metal shop, except it's not an old school metal shop. We're not doing a foundry, but what we are doing with metals room is we are doing a precision machine shop. So CNC mills are coming in. We have a bunch of programming. It's going to be Haas based. They are going to do some CAD work and then be able to program into a CNC mill and mill out some parts. So it's very modern. We have a ton of industry local that is always looking for machinists, and I think we can get a lot of students into that field locally. We can get internships with them. We can get them interested. It's a fantastic field, and they are going to help us out with curriculum and trainings and everything else here. So precision machining in that metal shop, as well as we're going to do a metal fabrication class setup as well. So we're going to also do a little bit of sheet metal, welding, fabrication of projects. So more of a typical metals class with the hands-on skill of plate steel, tube steel, building projects, coming up with those engineering projects and how do we actually build them, not just I want to say an old school metals shop, but a little more modern with some new tools. So that's coming due. We have a renovation. Hopefully it's about 6 months. I suspect about a year, but we're going to go through that starting in January. And next school year, students will be able to start signing up for those classes. So a little plug, look out for them, get signed up for them. It should be a good time. It's a really nice industry standard tooling that's going to be in this classroom as well. So if you have questions, reach out to me. I am always available via email. I have had a really good time so far with these classes. Students have done very well. I'm very impressed of how they are working and learning. We hopefully to continue that process through the rest of the semester, and hopefully look forward to seeing them in the spring in another class. All right, thank you and take care.